welcome everybody to the Magic Beans podcast. We are back again for episode number 183. I'm your host tonight, and my name is Shorty, and I have just one bean on the line tonight, and that is Cracker. How's it going, mate?
Good, thanks, man. How are you?
Yeah, pretty good. It's been a nice warm week, not too hot, but looks like it's going to be quite warm this weekend. We're getting up close to 40, which is finally getting some summer.
Yay.
You're not as big of a fan of the heat as I am?
I mean, my skin type is not as big a fan of the heat, let's be clear.
Well, the sun, yes.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter if it's hot or not, it's just the being out in the sun.
Yeah, no. I sweat a lot, I don't like it.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. Yeah.
Low 20s is my ideal temperature. If I can wear jeans and a t-shirt, I'm happy.
Yeah, okay. Yep. Yeah, I'm more like high 20s into low 30s is about where I want to be.
Chris is low teens.
Yeah. He should have been born in one of those northern European countries where it's just cold all year round. He'd fit in just fine in there.
Yeah, or Tasmania.
Yeah, that'd probably do it. Anyway, this is the Magic Beans weather podcast. getting right off the rails. But yeah, we're gonna be mostly talking about the upcoming set, which is basically about to release. We've got pre-release actually this weekend, the Murders at Karlov Manor, which we spoke about the mechanics on the last episode. But before we get into that, there is a place you can go to where you can claim a whole bunch of those cards. And where would that be?
Josh and Pat's. You know them. You love them. JP MTG Bazaar, Facebook auction page, and claim lots, like Shorty said. So Pat does an amazing job of getting cards early and cracking them and then listing them. And you just say, I want 4 of these cards. And you just tell them how many you want. And that's it. Super easy. No bidding. No worrying about it. Pat will pack them up and send them out right away. Prices are always kept up to date as well. So as things change, as people start to play the set, Pat always keeps the pricing update. So make sure you go and check him out as he cracks more products. Probably come across some. There's even serialized ones in this set, right? So you'll always find some crazy looking thing. It has to be. So might not be in the claim lot for those ones, but definitely auctions as they get opened. So JPMTG Bazaar, go check him out. And when you do win, tell them the beans sent you.
Very good. All right. Well, that's going to be the vast majority of our conversation for tonight. But before we get into that, we did a little stream this week. You and I and Chewy and Chris or Polywaffle. What did we get up to, Cracker?
Played Commander, man, with some of our pet decks.
Yeah,
it was a lot of fun.
Yep, I busted out my old pet deck. It was my very first Commander deck that I ever owned. I bought the Mizzix Precon and tinkered with it a little bit, added a few extra cards, and made it horrible to play against. So
kind of.
Yeah, it got pulled apart a long time ago and hasn't been played for, I reckon it would be about 4 years. Thought, all right, if we're gonna play proper decks, I'm gonna bust that out again this week. And if you haven't watched the videos, which you should, they're going up on YouTube in the next couple of days, go and watch them. I had to do some interesting editing. Setting
creative score enhancement, is that what we're doing?
Well, just more speeding up my turn.
Okay, sure.
When I actually got to watch the video, I was like, oh wow, my final turn actually took like 12 minutes. It's like, yeah, no one wants to sit through that.
The Benny Hill theme song started playing in my head.
So I played a deck that I'm sure if I played a lot of, and I knew what to get and when to get it and that sort of stuff, I could just go, all right, I'm going to do this, and this. Does anyone have an answer? No. Okay, I'm going to do this and win, and then just win. But there's a lot of me sitting there going, all right, I've got this much mana. Can I do it? No. And just trying to figure out what the hell I'm doing.
Yep.
And that unfortunately takes time, but I did well. You guys didn't kill me.
Nope,
So,
but there were opportunities, and they were passed up, and
came back to bite you.
We did not live to tell the tale.
Yep. So that was a lot of fun. I will be unsleeving that deck again and probably turning it into something more enjoyable to play and to play against. Because, as much as I like winning, it's not I know how unfun it is for 1 out of 4 people to be sitting there trying to figure out what they're doing while everyone else just kind of does nothing. So, yeah, not the most enjoyable, but...
It's tricky if no one else is playing, like, stack interaction as well. So, like, I was. At one point, I had a counter spell, and you're just like, do you have a counter spell? I was like, yep. I just told you, like, I had actual counter spell, but...
That's good, because I also have counter spell.
yeah, and it was fun. Like, you know, there's one opportunity, but... no, it was good. I don't mind playing against it. I wouldn't want to do it all the time, but it's like anything, right? You know, it's all good.
Yep. So you played your pet deck in the Locust God?
I did. I played the Locust God in the first game. It was funny. I was chatting to Mark at work, who had been in chat, and he was he's like, I actually just like sat and watched the whole first game. He's like, I couldn't quite understand what your deck was trying to do. And he's like, you're doing like damage to people, and I was like, yeah, I just want to cast my commander and draw all the cards, or cast, you know, Narset and then wheel, but you wouldn't let me do that. So I was
I counted that one.
You did.
That would not be good for me.
And then the second game, I played Merrin, which is another one of my pet decks, which probably hasn't had an update in 3 years. I don't think it's got no new creatures in it at all. But I mean, it's a lot of fun. You just do Spore Frog loops and all sorts of just graveyard shenanigans, which appeals to me. But there's no I win button in that deck. It's very, very Golgari. You just grind a lot, and eventually you might be able to overrun or something, I guess. But yeah, it's a good time.
Yep. Chewy played his enchantments deck, the Go Shintai, whatever it is.
Life's Origin.
5-color shenanigans where, he's just spitting out shrines and all the effects that you have for having multiple shrines, and then, pumping out angels and all sorts of things. So it can get out of hand.
It also locks it down with like propagandas and ghostly prisons and all that sort of stuff. Like, he doesn't like being attacked.
Yep. And someone who was trying to do a lot of attacking was Chris. He's playing Ginny Faye, which is doubling season, pump out a bunch of tokens that you turn into cats or dogs and smack people in the face, and that deck can get out of hand really quick.
It's a sweet commander. It really is. Like, Ginny Faye is really cool. Nice little replacement effect, and he's just like, making treasures that become vigilant dogs or hasty cats. And then in the second game, he decided that he needed something with a little more power, and he brought Kozilek, which was terrifying.
It was looking extremely terrifying until the game was over.
Well, until you had 3 turns in a row,
until I untapped with no cards in my hand and then won the game.
Yeah,
which
exactly
was quite a surprise. Yeah.
So go check out the videos, because it was a lot of fun. We had a good time.
Yep. So I've split them up. So we played basically 2 games. I've split them up. I'll put the first video up tomorrow. I'm just waiting on, I think, your deck list actually, Cracker.
Maybe sorry.
Someone's. I'm waiting on someone's deck list.
It's mine.
Yep. I'll put those up. So the first one should go up on Friday, and go and check that out, because the games were a lot of fun, and it's always good just playing some Magic with the other beans. And then I might post the other one up later over the weekend or early next week or something. So go and check those out, and stay tuned. We did mention on the stream that we're aiming to do more regular paper streams on my normal either Monday or Tuesday stream. So bit of Modern, bit of Pioneer, Highlander, that sort of stuff. So keep an eye out for that. If you don't follow us on Twitch, make sure you do, Magic Beans Cast, or go and sub to us on YouTube, so you can watch the videos later. All right, so let's get into Karlov Manor, Murders at Karlov Manor. We spoke about it last week. The pre-release is actually this weekend. I don't think any of us are going to the pre-release. I would like to, but it's unlikely to happen. What we should all do is go to a pre-release on Sunday night when it's like 39 degrees and just be in a room full of stinky nerds. That'd be fantastic. It'd be just like the good old days.
It's an idea, Shorty. Let's just call it that.
It's just flashbacks of upstairs at Card Heaven with no aircon and 50 stinky dudes and 40-degree temperatures. Yep, sounds great. Anyway, that's this weekend. It'll then release on Arena sort of mid-week, probably Thursday for us, I think it is. And then in paper the following weekend. So, new set on us, just like that. And tonight we're going to go through the limited archetypes. We like to do this when a new set's coming out, give you a bit of an idea of what to look for when you're going into your pre-release, or if you're going to, jump on Arena and start drafting straight away. And then if we've got the time, we might have a look at a few new cards that we like the look of now that we've got the full set preview. So we're just going to run through the list.
Yeah,
so
let's do it.
You want me to go first? Because I like this colour pair.
I think you
it looks
should.
like you like the second colour pair. So let's go with that. We're going to start it off. This is a Ravnica set, which traditional Ravnica was based on the guilds, the 10 colour pairs. This set is not based on the guilds, but we've still got the colour pairs as we usually do in particularly for limited. But looking at the previews, there's actually a lot of multicoloured cards in this set.
Yeah.
So it is reminiscent of traditional Ravnica sets in that regard. And there's also, I didn't even realise until I was looking just before, there's actually split cards in this set as well.
There's a bit of everything. But yeah, I mean, so it's not, I mean, like, we're going to talk about Boros first, but there's no card called Boros.
No, there's no
Legion
reference.
or something like that. There's no reference to the guilds. It's the whole point of this is it's just, everybody together. But they're definitely still the guilds for the limited archetypes.
Yeah, yep, 100%. All right, so Boros, the article we're looking at is on mtgdex.net. They've done a good article if you want to go and find that and read along or, get probably a better breakdown than what we're actually going to give. But they've called the Boros archetype Boros Battalion, and the reason for that is that there's a whole bunch of stuff in Boros, which is red and white, that all triggers off of when you attack with 3 or more creatures, which is the battalion mechanic, isn't it?
It sure is.
But
it's
it
the
is
old
not
from Ravnica. This is the plane it was from too.
Yeah, but it's not keyworded as battalion.
Nah, too many keywords.
Reasons.
It's shorter to write battalion than it is whenever you attack with 3 or more creatures.
Yep. You could just write battalion. So, all right. So the example card we've got, the signpost uncommon is Meddling Youths, which is 3 red-white for a 4/5 creature human detective, 4/5 with haste, and it's got whenever you attack with 3 or more creatures, investigate. So yeah, you could just write battalion investigate. But anyway, so trying to go wide, you're attacking. I mean, a 5-mana 4/5 haste in Boros is not bad. And it's rewarding you for attacking with 3 or more creatures by investigating, which is making the clue so you can keep your hand stocked. So that's pretty good. A couple of other cards that go along with that. We've got a Karlov Watchdog, 3 and a white for 3/2. Permanents you control can't be turned face up during your turn. Permanents your opponent's control can't be turned face up during your turn. So it switches off the morphing combat trick type stuff. And then whenever you attack with 3 or more creatures you control, whenever you attack with 3 or more creatures you control get +1/+1 till end of turn. So pumping your dudes. There's a 2-drop 1/3 when you attack with 3 or more creatures. It gets +2/+0 till end of turn. So 2-drop turns into a 3/3. Not bad. And then Dog Walker, a red and a white for a 3/1 with vigilance that has disguise. So that is the morph mechanic. For Boros, we've got hybrid mana in this set as well. And when it's turned face up, you create 2 tapped 1/1 white dog creature tokens. Very thematic, but just a way to help you to go wide. So Boros is kind of doing what Boros wants to be doing, which is spitting out a bunch of small dudes and turning them sideways. And then we've got cards like Lightning Helix to support that, which is an uncommon, I believe.
Yep. So also Shock is in the set as well.
Shock's in the set. We've got War Leader's Call, which is a rare enchantment that's a glorious anthem. Creatures you control get +1/+1, and when creatures enter the battlefield under your control, it deals 1 damage to each opponent. So Impact Tremors, which is what we saw on stream the other night.
Yeah, that card is a house. If you open that in Limited, play it.
Yes, definitely draft that one. So, yeah, Boros, pretty standard, doing what Boros does and trying to get people dead quick. So, right up my alley. The next one is definitely up your alley. What do you got there, Cracker?
Sure is. It's Golgari. We're doing graveyard shenanigans. So, the signpost uncommon here is called Insidious Roots, which is an enchantment. It's black and green. And it says, creature tokens you creature tokens you control have tap to add 1 mana of any color. Whenever 1 or more creature cards leave your graveyard, create a 0/1 green plant creature token and then put a +1/+1 counter on each plant you control. So it's pretty cool. It's like the Avenger of Zendikar thing. You get a bunch of 0/1 plants and then you make them bigger. And then, Yeah, a few key uncommons. So there's the Rakish Scoundrel, which is 2 green black for a 3/3. It's an elf rogue with Death Touch. It says when it ETBs or is turned face up, target creature gains indestructible until end of turn. Its disguise cost is 4, and then Golgari, which is a lot of mana. But it's a common, so, I guess you don't expect a particularly amazing raid on that. You've also got Extract a Confession, which is as an additional cost to cast this spell, you may collect Evidence 6. Evidence 6 is exile cards with total mana value 6 or greater from your graveyard, which would then trigger your enchantment and put +1/+1 counter on your dudes. Each opponent sacrifices a creature. If evidence was collected, each opponent sacrifices a creature with the greatest power among creatures they control. So Edict, but then if you can exile a bunch of stuff from your graveyard, Edict with upside. It's a common as well. And then there is the Rot Farm Mortipede, which is 3 and a black for a 3/4. And whenever one or more creature cards leave your graveyard, Rot Farm Mortipede gets +1/+0, gains lifelink and menace until the end of turn. So really just leaning into the scavenge effect. Is that what it was called? I'm just looking at it. No, sure. Scavenge is a different one. It's collect evidence. Sorry. Scavenge is another effect where you can exile cards from your graveyard.
I thought you were referencing a different...
No. Okay. So they collect the evidence. You're triggering off that. So that is the equivalent of the Boros's, tap 3.
Yeah.
You're going to want to look for ones that have got the lowest the lowest collect evidence number that you can, so that you can trigger it more easily.
Yeah, collect evidence 6 is a lot. It's a lot. Either you've got a bunch of big stuff in your graveyard and that's okay, or you're exiling like 5 cards and then you've got nothing left to do it more.
Yeah. There's also murder in this set at common, which is, well, it's murder.
Yep.
I don't know what else there is to say.
It's in the name of the set, so it's got to be there.
They said the name of the movie. Yeah, so no, it seems good. Might be... It'll be grindy. It's Golgari. That's just what it does.
Yeah. It can definitely get out of hand with that enchantment. I'm assuming there are other plants in the Golgari colours. So
there will definitely be plant generators. I just had a quick
look and straight up, there's a bunch of plants and other things that generate plants as well. So if you can start putting a few counters on them, they're going to get out of control pretty quickly, like a bunch of weeds taking over your garden. Insidious roots. Yep.
You got it. All right, what have we got next?
All right, up next is Azorius, so white and blue. I do like that now we're back on a Ravnica plane, we can legitimately call decks by the Ravnica guilds again, because it's really frustrating. When they tried to do, was it Strixhaven?
Yeah, it was Strixhaven.
It's like no one's calling anything Lorehold or whatever it was. I don't even know what colours it was.
Prismari. Yeah. Lorehold was Boros.
Yeah, Prismari was red and blue. I know that. But yeah, you're calling it Izzet. So anyway.
Correct.
Just stick with what's good, Wizards. Okay, Azorius. So Azorius is mostly based around detectives. So there is a whole bunch of detectives in this set, as you would expect from a murder mystery. And the detectives like it when you draw extra cards. So there's a lot of investigating, as you would expect detectives to do, which is creating clues and then sacking them and drawing extra cards. So the signpost uncommon is Private Eye, which is funny art. It is a homunculus, which is just a giant eye for a head. Dude with a giant eye for a head. So Private Eye, very good. Yep. 1 white blue for 3/3 homunculus detective. Other detectives you control get +1/+1. Whenever you draw your second card each turn, target detective can't be blocked this turn. So if you can pick up a couple of these, that's a pretty good start. They'll pump each other. And, if you're spitting out clues, it's not going to be that hard to draw your second card each turn. So the other cards we've got here on the job is an instant for 4 mana that pumps your creatures. Creatures you control get +2/+1, and you get to investigate. There's a Novice Inspector, which is Thraben Inspector. It is a single white for 1/2. When Novice Inspector enters the battlefield, investigate. That's just the exact same as Thraben Inspector, isn't it?
It is.
Yep. Okay, cool. Thraben Inspector, Pauper All-Star, and was an All-Star in Standard, so good to see that back. In blue, we've got Deduce, 1 and a blue, draw a card, then investigate at instant speed. And then, there is just a ton of detectives. Just, random creatures, humans and sphinxes and all sorts of stuff that they've just thrown the detective subtype or whatever it's called onto it.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you're able to pick up a couple of the private eyes, you're going to be having a whole lot of cards in your hand, which is always a good thing in Magic, and then getting through with a whole bunch of unblockable dudes. So sounds like fun. A little bit of a different take. You usually get the blue-white flyers. Well, now it's sort of blue-white draw cards and go unblockable, which sounds like a bit of fun.
Yeah, seems good.
Yep.
I mean, even just like 3 mana 3/3 is above rate for blue-white, it feels like.
Yeah, yep. And there's a couple of
some keyword triggers and stuff.
Yeah, there's a couple of bigger, like there's a rare Archon Detective. It's a 5 mana 5/5 with flying that investigates twice, and you can sack an artifact to give it Vigilance, Lifelink, or Hexproof until end of turn. A few bombs in those colours that also go well with the Signpost Uncommon. So it could be a good, fun archetype. What's next?
One of my other favourite colour pairs, Dimir. Clues control, this one's saying. So the Signpost Uncommon here actually seems really good. So 2 blue-black for a zombie detective. There you go. It's got 3/1 and flying. It says, when you sacrifice a clue, return Curious Cadaver from your graveyard to your hand. So lots of ways of making clues in blue from what I've seen, and also some in black. And then just rebuying this for, instant speed, end of turn, crack a clue, draw a card, get this back in your hand, cast it again. It's a pretty good threat if you can just keep it around or not. Doesn't matter. You don't need to rebuy it 11 times either. Like, I think that's one thing that when people look at this kind of stuff for limited, you might be like, oh, I've got to maximize it. If you get this back once and cast it again, that's still really good. Like, you've done basically nothing. You were going to crack every clue you get anyway. You're just getting this card back in your hand. So pretty strong. We've also got a Fairy Snoop, which is a 1 blue-black for a 1 for Fairy Detective with flying, and Disguise for 1 Dimir. And it says, when it's turned face up, look at the top 2 cards of your library, put 1 into your hand and the other into your graveyard. Oh, Shorty, you can put your cadaver in the graveyard and then crack a clue and get it back. Oh, the value.
Yeah, synergies.
It's that sort of stuff you want to look for. It has Murder here as one of the cards as well, because you're playing Dimir. It's kind of control-y. It's what you want to do. And then Hotshot Investigators. 6 mana for a 4/4 in 5 and a blue. It says, when Hotshot Investigators enters the battlefield, return up to 1 other target creature to its owner's hand. If you controlled it, investigate, which is pretty good, actually. 6 mana for a bounce. It's on the expensive side, but you can gain a lot of tempo from, clearing that annoying threat out of the way and then getting a big attack in, or, rebuying your creature, investigating, getting another, enters the battlefield clue. You might have something that you want to recast under the disguise effect and then flip over again. Not necessarily the Fairy Snoop, but there's other ones that have got a much bigger impact when they turn face up. So, kind of resetting those things can be really strong as well.
Sounds good.
What do we got next?
All right, we're up to Rakdos. So we've got Rakdos Suspect, or however you want to say it. Aggro.
I think it's Suspect.
Are you sure?
Yes.
I think it's suspect when you're referring to a person, or like that is the suspect. But I suspect that person is the killer.
That's true. It's both, because it does say like you suspect it, but then it is a suspect.
But then it is suspected.
I'm glad we're giving people English lessons here, Shorty. We are the most eloquent individuals.
I should never give anyone English lessons. That was my worst subject by far.
All right, so what are we doing with these suspects?
I could spell really well, but that's it. Everything else to the English language, no good. All right, Rakdos, Suspect, Aggro. Suspected creatures have menace. So, you're playing a bunch of stuff that is making your creatures suspected, so that you're getting the benefit from that. So you can look at suspected as a plus or a negative, I guess. Like you can make your opponent's creatures suspected so that they can't block your creatures, or you can make your creatures suspected so that they have menace, which means that it makes them harder to block. So our signpost uncommon is Rune Brand Juggler, red and a black for a 2/2 human shaman, not shaman, shaman. Still going with these English lessons.
No, I disagree.
When Rune Brand Juggler enters the battlefield, suspect up to one target creature you control. So that creature has menace and can't block, and then you can pay 3 black-red, sack a suspected creature. A target creature gets -5/-5 till end of turn. 5 mana for a dismember? Probably still pretty good, especially in limited. It's going to take out most things.
Particularly if you can keep re-triggering it. It's not like you have to sacrifice yourself like that. Yeah. It doesn't kill itself. It's just something else. So I'm sure there'll be ways to find tokens and the like, or just creatures that have no other use. Yeah,
exactly. Other cards we've got Person of Interest, a 4-mana 2/2 that when it enters the battlefield, you suspect it, and then you make a 2/2 blue and white detective creature token. So it's 4 mana for 4/4 across 2 bodies, one of which is a creature with menace and can't block. That's not too bad. Rubble Belt Braggart is a 5 mana 5/5 that when it attacks, if it's not suspected, you may suspect it. So 5/5 menace coming in is pretty good. Shady Informant is a 5 mana 4/2 that when it dies, it deals 2 damage to any target, and it's got Disguise 2 Rakdos. So play it, attack with it. Your opponent's probably not going to want to block it because it's going to, 4 powers decent. It's going to kill something and then ping something else. Or you can sack it to your Rune Brand Juggler and get the extra value out of it that way. Yeah, and then there's a bunch of other good Rakdos stuff. If we want to look at Mythics, there is a Rakdos, the Patron of Chaos, which is a 6 mana 6/6 with Flample. At the beginning of your end step, target opponent may sacrifice 2 non-land, non-token permanents. If they don't, you draw 2 cards. Oof. I love the art, actually, on that card. Looks really cool. There is a
Rakdos
Judith.
is always cool, actually.
Yeah, their art's always sweet. Yep. There is a new Judith, Cracker. Your most coveted wild card spent on Arena card.
Yeah. She's a 5 mana 3/4 this time.
Yep. But yeah, it's Rakdos is it's kind of just doing, it's wanting to be a little bit aggressive and hoping that it can get past your blockers with menace. You're pairing it with the good red burn spells, like your shocks, and the black removal spells, so you're kind of in a good spot. You can take out those larger blockers that your opponent might have and then leave them in awkward situations where they have to double block unprofitably with when they're trying to block your menace creatures. So could be quite good. Rakdos, I find most limited sets, Rakdos just never quite comes together. But you never know. Maybe this is the one.
Maybe. It's definitely needed help in constructed formats.
Yeah. Well, I mean, no one plays Rakdos in any constructed formats ever.
No. I'm pretty sure most of the time you're going to want to suspect your own creatures.
Yes.
Unless they've got like a small death toucher that's super annoying. Making it harder for you to be able to block their stuff is, not usually a great idea.
No.
Unless you're looking to just turn it into a straight race. That's kind of the only time I can think of it.
Yeah. There's also at uncommon in Rakdos for 1 black-red Deadly Complication, which is a sorcery. Choose one or both. Destroy target creature. So again, just straight removal like murder. Or put a +1/+ on counter on target suspected creature you control. You may have it become no longer suspected if you want it for whatever reason, but generally you would keep it suspected. So 3 mana, kill a dude.
That will be the case.
Yes, well done. Make my dude bigger. Seems quite good.
Nice. All right. Next up, we have the Orzhov Guild, which is about disguise. So the signpost uncommon here is called the Whisper Drinker Vampire. So it's 2 white-black for a 2/4 vampire rogue with flying. Whenever another creature with power 2 or less enters the battlefield under your control, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. It has an activated ability of 5 white-black. Creatures you control with power 2 or less gain Death Touch and Lifelink until the end of turn. So we're going to want to disguise all of the things, is basically what it comes down to. There's going to be a bunch of cheap other creatures as well. One of the examples here is the Snarling Gorehound, which is black for a 1/1 dog with a menace. Whenever another creature with power 2 or less enters the battlefield under your control, surveil 1, which seems great, actually. Just free surveil triggers. Then we've got Sanguine Savior, which is 1 black-white for a 2/1 vampire cleric with flying and lifelink, and disguise for Orzhov. When it's turned face up, another target creature you control gains lifelink until end of turn. It's a pretty neat little combat trick, actually.
Yeah, that is quite good.
That's a really strong card for what you're trying to do with this color pair. And then the last one we've got here is the Inside Source, which is 2 and a white for a 1/1 human citizen. It says when Inside Source enters the battlefield, create a 2/2 white and blue detective creature token. And then for 3 and tap, target detective you control gains +2/+0 and gains vigilance until end of turn. Activate only as a sorcery. Seems great, man. Like 3 mana for 3 power and toughness across 2 bodies is a really good rate. And then the activated ability, I mean, okay, it's a common, so I can't be like, where's my instant speed? But, like, only as a sorcery is obviously quite the large downside.
Yep.
But on-board tricks get missed a lot. I speak from vast experience of missing on-board tricks. So keep an eye out for that one. I think it will be very strong.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, up next, both yours and my favourite colours. Highlighted by the Commander decks we played this week. Izzet. Managed to time it that I scored the Izzet one. So Izzet is, as we see Izzet do a lot, it is triggering off of a lot of artifact stuff. There's quite a few creatures that trigger off of when you've sacrificed an artifact, or if you've sacrificed an artifact at the end of turn sort of thing. So there's going to be no shortage of things for you to sacrifice in these colours. Plenty of Thopters and clues and treasures and all that sort of stuff, as well as just artifact creatures and things like the Signpost Uncommon, which I think we spoke about on the last episode, the Gleaming Gear Drake, the blue-red 1/1 Drake, artifact creature Drake with flying. When it enters the battlefield, you investigate, so make a clue, and then whenever you sack an artifact, put a +1/+1 counter on Gleaming Drake. So yep, you're going to want to be sacking that clue pretty quick, turn into a 2/2, and then every artifact you sack for whatever reason throughout the game, this thing's just getting bigger and bigger, and it has flying tacked on. So good card. You spoke about this as a card that you're keen on. So
seems great.
Just needs haste. If it had haste, that'd be fantastic.
Remember Sprite Dragon?
Yeah, Sprite Dragon. Yeah, the card was awesome.
It was.
Yep. So to go along with it, we have Gadget Technician, a 2 blue-red for a 3/2 Goblin Artificer, or Artificer, however you say that one. When Gadget Technician enters the battlefield or is turned face up, create a 1/1 Thopter with flying, and it has disguise for Izzet. So 4 mana for 4/3, like split over 2 bodies, as we've mentioned that a couple of times already, that we seem to be getting a bit of that, which is always powerful. That's something that a lot of players miss, having 2 permanents. Even though the power and toughness isn't huge, the 2 permanent side of that is usually a benefit. Quite good. There is Red Herring, very fitting in this set. This was actually on my list of cards I was going to talk about tonight.
Yeah,
anyway.
It's a great card.
Yep, 2 mana, so 1 and a red for a 2/2 Clue Fish artifact creature. It has haste, so 2 mana, 2/2 haste, and it attacks each combat if able, and then it has the clue clause because it is a clue. You can pay 2 and sack it and draw a card. So mono red, yep, love this one. You play this one in your Boros deck as well if you're playing that in limited. 2 mana, 2/2 with haste, and yeah, just being able to sack it to draw a card when you don't have that attack. If you're gonna be forced to attack and it's just gonna get chump blocked and die, then you can pay the 2 and draw a card, which is something you certainly like in Izzet colours, and then you synergize that with Gleaming Gear Drake, where you're sacrificing an artifact and putting +1/+1 counters on it. That's very good. And then we have a Knife as well, something very fitting for this set, which is a single red for a clue equipment. As long as it's your turn, equipped creature gets +1/+0 and has first strike, and it's got the same thing. Pay 2, sack it, draw a card, because it is a clue, and the equip cost is 2. So Izzet looks interesting. If you can get enough things that spit out tokens for you, then you can sort of keep the engine rolling, I guess. There is a uncommon Izzet Artifact Detective Satchel, which is 2 blue-red. When it enters the battlefield, you investigate twice, so it gives you some clues to sack. And then you can tap it to create a 1/1 Thopter with flying, but you can activate it only if you've sacked an artifact this turn. So, yeah, plenty of artifact synergies that want you to be sacrificing things. And there's a bunch of creatures in blue and red as well that trigger off of if you've sacked an artifact this turn, or spells with additional costs. There's Suspicious Detonation, which is 4 and a red. This spell costs 3 less to cast if you've sacked an artifact this turn. It can't be countered, and it deals 4 damage to target creature, so would be 2 mana, 4 damage to a creature. It can't be countered, not too bad.
Seems good.
Yep.
There's a Furtive Courier, which is 2 and a blue for a 3/2. Can't be blocked if you've sacrificed an artifact this turn, and when it attacks, draw a card, then discard.
Yeah, nice. There's also some anti-Izzet card that I just came across. Vengeful Tracker, 2 mana, 2/2 human detective, 1 and a red. Whenever an opponent sacrifices an artifact, Vengeful Tracker deals 2 damage to them. So be aware of that. Otherwise, you're going to get got. But yeah, Izzet's always fun. You draw a lot of cards. You've got access to the card drawing color in blue and the burn color in red. So good fun. All right, up next.
Agreed.
Simic.
This one is Evidence. It's saying so. We've got the Evidence Examiner as the signpost uncommon. It's blue-green for a 2/2. Merfolk Detective. At the beginning of the combat on your turn, you may collect evidence for, which we talked about before. It's exiling cards with mana value from your graveyard. Whenever you collect evidence, investigate. So it doesn't have to only trigger from its own trigger. It's just any time you would collect evidence. There'll be a bunch of other ways to do that in these colors. We've got some commons here. There's the Rubble Belt Maverick, which is green for a 1/1, and when it ETBs, Surveil 2, and then it has an activated ability of green, exile Rubble Belt Maverick from your graveyard, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature, activate only as a sorcery. It's not bad. Just a bunch of upside there for not a lot of effort. We've got the Vitu Ghazi Inspector for 1 and a green for a 1/3 Elf Detective. As an additional cost to cast this spell, you may collect evidence 6, which is a lot, but it has reach. And when Vitu Ghazi Inspector enters the battlefield, if evidence was collected, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature and you gain 2 life. Seems like a lot of effort for a +1/+1 counter and 2 life, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
But really good defensive stats. 1/3 reach is just what it is for 1 and a green. So even if you don't get to trigger that, I mean, late game, hey, that's fine. Maybe that's what you need to be able to punch through the last little bit of damage or something. But I don't know that I'll be doing that mode of it a lot. And then the last card we've got here is the Crime Stopper Sprite, which is 2 and a blue for a 2/2 Fairy Detective. As an additional cost to cast this spell, you may collect evidence 6. It's these commons with 6 mana. it's got flying, and then when Crime Stopper Sprite enters the battlefield, tap target creature. If evidence was collected, put a stun counter on it. Stun counter would prevent it from being untapped. You have to remove the stun counter before it can be untapped again. So you kind of get 2 turns of it being tapped down. But evidence 6 is a lot.
It is, yep. Just come across Sample Collector, 2 and a green for a 2/3 Troll Detective. Whenever it attacks, you may collect evidence 3. Much easier to do. When you do, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. Quite a few of those. It looks like Simic and Golgari probably go hand in hand pretty well. And it's sort of looking at that as well, like through the other, the color pairs we've gone through so far. There's definitely a lot of overlap where you can easily be playing those, Sultai, Jeskai, whatever those shards, wedges, whatever those ones are called, Abzan, that type of thing, and get quite a lot of crossover, which is good. That generally leads to a good limited format. You're not just forced into, nope, you can only play 2 colors and you have to play these 2 and that's all your deck does. And if it doesn't come together, you're stuffed. So,
yep. We do have the rare cycle of lands as well. If we're going to talk about multicolors, I know we've still got a couple more to kind of get through, but yeah, there's a bunch of different things, and there is some ways of making treasures in this set, I believe, as well. So
yes, there is. Yep.
Treasures obviously let you sack for any color too.
Yep. All right. Up next is Gruel. I love the line they've got here. Smashing face is what you want to do, but done in a disguiseful fashion.
Sure.
As you do. Okay, yep. The signpost uncommon, we've got Tin Street Gossip, which is 2 red-green for 4/4 Viashino Advisor with Vigilance, and it has tap, add red-green. Spend this mana only to cast face-down spells or to turn creatures face-up. So 4 mana ramp is... 4 mana mana dork is generally not where you want to be. It is adding 2 mana, but that is quite late in the game. But maybe it's what you want. Some of the key commons we got: Goblin Mask Maker, single red for a 1/2. When it attacks face down spells you cast this turn cost 1 less to cast. So instead of paying 3 to put your creatures face down, you can pay 2. Seems pretty good. Lets you go wide a bit quicker. There's Nervous Gardener, 1 and a green for 2/2 with Disguise for just a single green. When it's turned face up, search your library for a land card with a basic land type, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. So it's not actually ramping you, but it is finding a land out of your deck that is costing you 4 mana to do it. Offender at Large, 4 and a red for a 5/4 with Disguise for 4 and a red as well. When it enters the battlefield or is turned face up to 1 target creature gets +2/+0 till end of turn. Yeah, they're commons. They're not doing anything way out of whack, but there's a couple of good uncommons as well. Flourishing Bloomkin, 1 and a green for a 0/0 plant elemental. There's that plant type that we were talking about before with the Golgari ones. When it enters this... No, Flourishing Bloomkin gets +1/+1 for each forest you control. And then it's got Disguise for 4 and a green. When it's turned face up, search your library for up to 2 forest cards and reveal them. Put one of them onto the battlefield tapped and the other into your hand, then shuffle. Now, it is forest cards, so you can get the dual lands in this set because they are basic land typed. So that's quite good. So yeah, 2 mana. It's likely going to come in as a 2/2. But if you want to morph it and flip it over later, then you can make it even bigger, which is pretty cool. And has that plant type. Bolrak, Clan Basher, 6 mana, 4 red for a 3/2 with double strike and trample. This is your combat trick that you're playing for. It's got Disguise for 5 for 3 red. So it's a bit expensive to be flipping over, but yeah, you attack with your 2/2 and then flip it over and turn it into a 3/2 double strike trampler is a bit of a rude shock.
Yeah, but you get to attack with your Tin Street Gossip, and then mid-combat you tap it for your 2 mana because it's got Vigilance.
Yep.
There you go. That's the joke with that card. Gruel seems like it's trying to do the thing. Go big.
The usual Gruel stuff, but just a slightly different take on it, where you can, if you've got 4 disguised creatures out, you can just swing in and your opponent doesn't know what they are. You've got that surprise element. They never know what you're going to flip over, and especially when you're playing games 2 or 3, they're going to be going, well, last time you flipped over this creature, it could be that, and that just completely messes me up. So puts a little bit of doubt in your opponent's mind. A card quickly to mention, Breakout, which is red and a green sorcery. Look at the top 6 cards of your library. You may reveal a creature card from among them. If that card has mana value 2 or less, you may put it onto the battlefield and it gains haste until end of turn. If you didn't put the revealed card onto the battlefield this way, put it into your hand and the rest of them go on the bottom of your library. So it's like a mini Coco. It's not instant. You're only getting 1 creature. It's half the cost. It is mana value 2 or less, but you can pick a creature that is higher mana value than that and just put it into your hand. So digging 6 to find something good is not bad. Or you might get something that's mana value 2 or less and it goes on the battlefield with haste. So seems pretty good. All right. It
does. All right. Oh man, I'm excited. It's my favorite color combination in all of Magic. It's Celestia. It's aggressive, is what they're telling us. So the signpost uncommon is the Sumala Sentry. It's white-green for a 1/3 Elf Archer with Reach. And whenever a face-down permanent you control is turned face-up, put a +1/+1 counter on it and a +1/+1 counter on the Sumala Sentry, which is actually pretty good. Like making this thing big. 2 +1/+1 counters for flipping stuff up is excellent, in addition to all the other pluses that you get, the upside. So some of the commons we've got here are the Crowd Control Warden, which is 3 green-white for a 4/4. And it's a Centaur Soldier. And as the Crowd Control Warden enters the battlefield or is turned face up, put X +1/+1 counters on it, where X is the number of other creatures you control. Its disguise cost is 3 Selesnya. So pretty good. Because, flipping things face up, obviously, you can do that instant speed. You can effectively give it haste with a bunch of other things. So that'll get big out of nowhere. We've also got the Nervous Gardener listed here, which is the one you just talked about before, which is going to go find you some lands. And then also the Museum Night Watch, which is 3 and a white for a 3/2. Centaur Soldier again, and it says when a Museum Night Watch dies, you create a 2/2 white and blue detective creature token. And it has disguise for 1 and a white. So good, these things that... It feels like there's a lot of extra cardboard being made in this set, Shorty.
Yeah,
there's
definitely.
just tokens coming out of everywhere. There's just clues coming left and right and detective tokens. And there's just every card that we've read. There are no vanilla creatures we have gone through tonight. And scrolling through the set, there's not just a 5 mana 3/3 trample that I've seen. Everything just has words and words and words all over it. So, lot of complicated stuff, which is good. I guess one of my main thoughts about this is play a lot of lands.
Yeah. You're going to running 16 lands.
Correct. You're going to want to be running 17, maybe even 18 lands, depending on what you're doing. Boros less so, but anything that's got the disguise mechanic in it, anything that's generating a bunch of clue tokens, you just want mana. Missing land drops is going to be really bad because, like I said, every card is so individually powerful. Even the commons with the random activated abilities. We're talking about the one that costs 7 mana to activate. I promise you there will be games where you hit that point and you're just oh cool, I can sacrifice this thing. It costs 7 mana and it kills a thing or it does something else. There will be upside. So missing land drops in limited is really horrendous. So don't. just don't let yourself
don't do that.
Play more lands than you think. This is not going to be a hyper aggressive set from what I can see.
No, I think the Boros and possibly the Rakdos decks could be quite aggressive to start with, but I think there's sort of catch up mechanics in the in all the colours that can unless they get that crazy start, you should be fine and be playing for the slightly longer game. But yeah, I do like that there is a lot of crossover in a lot of these mechanics. So yeah, you can play, particularly in sealed, where you're not often super deep in 2 colour pairs. In 1 colour pair, and you're able to just stick with that. Being able to easily bring in cards from the other colour pairs and play 3 colours, especially with the lands that we've got as well, means you can build a more functional deck, which is always a lot of fun. Means that people actually get to play Magic.
Yep. Actually, speaking of mana and all those kinds of things, we should point out there's a card called the Gravestone Strider, which is just 2 colourless. It's an artifact creature. It's a golem for a 1/3, and it has colourless. Add 1 mana of any colour, activate once each turn. And then it also has another activated ability, which is to exile Gravestone Strider from your graveyard, exile target card from a graveyard. So a bit of graveyard hate on the backside, but it's just a strict colour changer. So once per turn, tap a mana, and you don't even have to tap this, so you can, do it on your opponent's turn and stuff like that, and it just filters. It's just a straight filter. There's no downside. Usually these effects have been you got to tap it, or it costs you an extra mana to do that sort of thing. So yeah, that will be a must in a lot of cases, I think.
Well, speaking of cases, there is a colourless case called Case of the Shattered Pact, which is just 2 generic mana for an enchantment case, and when it enters the battlefield, you search your library for a basic land card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. And then it's got a couple of things that are probably not going to be relevant and limited, but it's got a solve thing. If there are 5 colours among permanents you control, then you can solve it, and then once it's solved, at the beginning of combat on your turn, target creature you control gains flying, double strike, and vigilance till end of turn, which is pretty sweet, but unlikely to be coming up too often in limited. The main thing is you'd be playing this for just going and fixing your mana, finding a basic land for 2 mana, and just having a permanent that sits on the battlefield that you might be able to do something with.
Seems strong. I tell you what would trigger that, though, Shorty, is Niv Mizzet Guild Pact. which is...
Is this your secret card that you...
No, it's not actually.
No,
it's a different
we got
one,
another
but
one, okay.
I spotted this before. Nib's back, because Nib's great. You can't have a Ravnica plane without Nib on it. He's 5 colors for a 6/6 legendary creature, dragon avatar at rare, by the way. At rare, not mythic. So you've actually got a non-zero chance of opening this thing. Flying, hexproof and multicolored. Whenever Niv Mizzet Guildpact deals combat damage to a player, it deals X damage to any target. Target player draws X cards and you gain X life, where X is the number of different pairs among permanents you control that are exactly 2 colors. What a mouthful.
Goodness
but
me.
It's like the Niv Mizzet Reborn did the same thing,
Yeah.
where it looked at cards and you got to basically take something from each of the guilds, right? So same thing, if you've got a Boros card in play, it gives you X equals 1. If you've got a Boros and a Dimir, it's equals 2, right? Et cetera, et cetera. You get the joke. Whatever. It's a 6/6 flying hexproof from multicolored.
Dice to murder.
Listen, don't you dice to Doomblade me. It does, but that's fine.
Yep. All right.
I know, you can't talk about Ravnica and not talk about Niv.
No, that's right. I thought Niv Mizzet died, though. Oh, no, he was Niv Mizzet Reborn the last time we saw him.
Correct.
He did come back. Yep, that's cool. And then came back.
Yep.
All right. So that's limited. Looks cool. Should be a bit of fun. Might try and draft this set. We'll see how we go. We're starting to go long on our, 2-person short podcast that we never do.
Yep.
Let's talk about a couple of cards that we're interested in. I'm going to talk about one, and then you can tell me your secret one.
Oh, sure.
You
Okay.
Haven't told me.
Yeah.
Intrude on the Mind. 3 blue for an instant. Reveal the top 5 cards of your library and separate them into 2 piles. An opponent chooses one of those piles. Put that pile into your hand and the other into your graveyard. Create a 0/0 Thopter with flying. Then put a +1/+1 counter on it for each card put into your graveyard this way. So this is reverse Fact or Fiction, sort of. Fact or Fiction is reveal 5 or look at 5, and then you separate them into 2 piles, and then your opponent has to choose the pile.
No. Fact or Fiction is you give them 5 cards.
You give it to your opponent.
They split and you choose.
Yep. So you force them to split the cards, and then you get to choose the piles. Whereas this is the opposite way. You're separating them into the 2 piles, and then your opponent's choosing which pile you want. So you can go, okay, I'm revealing 5. I've got 1 card that I really want out of these things, out of these 5 cards, and 4 that I don't. So I'm going to split them 1 and 4. And then your opponent has that horrible predicament of, okay, well, if I give them the 1, that's the 1 card that they really want. And then the 4 are going into your graveyard, which we know putting things in your graveyard is always a good thing, or usually a good thing. And then you get a 4/4 flyer out of it. So you get the card you want and a 4/4 flyer. Or your opponent's other option is they put 1 card into your graveyard, which is the card you really want. They let you draw 4 cards, and you still get a 1/1 Thopter.
Yep.
So
this card's great.
A question I had actually is, can you split it as 5 and 0? And go, okay, you can give me no cards, but I get a 5/5 flyer. I don't know that you'd want to do that, but
I believe you can. It doesn't. Yeah. Yes. I'm pretty sure you can.
This seems it's instant speed as well.
Yeah.
So you attack me with a flyer, I flash this in, and then I just put you in a situation of like, all right, you can either give me a blocker big enough to block your flyer, or you can give me a bunch of cards.
Yeah. I mean, even the most common 3/2 split is going to be fantastic.
Yeah, 3/2 split. You go, okay, I'll either draw 2 cards or I draw 3 cards, and I either get a 2/2 flyer or a 3/3 flyer. Fantastic. This card is cool.
Very cool.
Yep, definitely like this. Is that Jace in the art?
Oh, probably.
Ghostly looking thing?
I think so.
Interesting.
Maybe. It's a story spotlight card. We should read the story.
No.
I don't know.
No. All right, give me a card, Cracker.
Oh, yeah, no, it's just the name. So I'll scroll past it. It's called Cold Case Cracker.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
What color is it?
It's blue. It's 3 and a blue for a 3/3 with flying, and when it dies, investigate. It's fine in limited, but like I just
it's a card with your name on it.
It's got my name on it. That's all. Long Goodbye is actually one of the cards I did want to talk about.
Okay.
1 and a black for an instant. This spell can't be countered. Destroy target creature or planeswalker with mana value 3 or less. It very helpfully gives you the reminder text. This includes the By the Ward ability. So I think we might have talked about this briefly, but it kills Raffine, it kills Graveyard Trespasser. It's going to kill all of these little disguised things that are hiding on the board. So really efficient removal spell. I think there's a lot of stuff that this will actually hit that you will want to have some number of copies in your deck.
Yeah, seems good. A card I've heard quite a lot of people talking about, and I think it's pre-ordering. I think this is the most expensive card in the set from the pre-orders, which is Ansrag the Quake Mole, which is a mole god.
Oh, yeah.
As you do. 2 red-green for an 8/4 legendary creature mole god. When Ansrag becomes blocked, untap each creature you control. After this combat phase, there is an additional combat phase. There's no clause on that of this can only trigger once per turn, which is interesting. We often get that. And then it's got 3 red, green, so 7 mana. Ansrag must be blocked each combat this turn if able. Oh man, this thing just screams to me combo potential, particularly in Commander.
Oh yeah.
You know, make this thing indestructible and just, it has to be blocked each turn and just take infinite combat steps. Seems fun.
Yeah, or it's your commander and then you take 8 commander damage.
Yeah, yep.
But like, yeah, I mean, even in standard and stuff like that, like you can't just sit there taking 8.
Just take 8.
That is a very large number.
Yep, pretty cool card. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what people do with that if it does see. I mean, 4 mana is not that much. Like, potentially we could see some sort of combo in Modern, maybe Pioneer, that sort of thing. So it'd be interesting to see what people do with this. So keep an eye on that one.
Gruul in Pioneer is already a deck, right? So there's potentially a home for it there.
Yep.
Couple of other ones quickly. There's the Archdruid's Charm, which is green for an instant. And it says, choose one. Search your library for a creature or land card. Reveal it. Put it onto the battlefield tapped if it's a land card. Otherwise, put it in your hand. Then shuffle. It also then has put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. It deals damage equal to its power to another target creature you don't control. And exile target artifact or enchantment. So Archmage's Charm, seen a lot of play. That was a Modern Horizons card. So a lot of play in Modern. A lot of versatility out of this one. I don't know whether it's main deck or not, but certainly, it's going to do a lot of stuff. Add 3 mana to instant speed. Go find any creature in your deck and put it in your
land.
hand.
Any land.
Yeah, exactly. Any land, exactly. And you put it into play tap. So there's definitely like combo potential there. Maybe. Like Triple Green's pretty tough for a lot of those kind of formats. Yeah. But just
being able to do it at instant speed though just leads to a lot of combo potentials.
Yeah, absolutely. It'll just be like in Mono Green Devotion in Pioneer, you just go find your Cityscape Leveler or something like that and then untap and cast that, or you use it to punch a creature and get your damage through. Like there's a lot of applications in that spot.
It does also deal with the One Ring in Modern.
It does.
Because it is it exiles an artifact. It'd be interesting to see if they fill out the rest of the cycle of these then. Now that we've got 2 Arc something charms. Could be interesting.
Yeah.
One I wanted to quickly mention, Frantic Scapegoat. This is a single red for a 1/1 with the most hilarious art.
It's fantastic.
Okay, see, the bad part is that noise that goat is making in that art, I have that burned into my brain from when we had goats. Yeah. It's just this super annoying noise, and it's great. Not good.
There are not many magic cards you could hear, but even not having owned goats, I can definitely hear it.
So it's a 1/1 for 1 with haste. So, we like that one. And when it enters the battlefield, you suspect it. So it's a 1/1 for 1 haste with menace that can't block. Seems good. But whenever 1 or more other creatures enter the battlefield under your control, if Frantic Scapegoat is suspected, you may suspect one of the other creatures. If you do, Frantic Scapegoat is no longer suspected. So being able to just drop this on turn 1 and have it as a 1/1 menace with haste is good, getting that little bit of chip damage. And then later on in the game, potentially teeing it up with a Reckless Stormseeker, which is still in standard, which can come down, give itself haste, pump itself, and the Scapegoat makes it suspected and gives it menace. Seems pretty good.
Yep. Sure does.
So
it's a lot of damage out of nowhere.
Good little tool for the red aggressive decks. So keep an eye out for that one.
One more card. I can't remember if we talked about this one or not, but No More Lies. So it's blue-white for an instant. Counter target spell unless its controller pays 3.
Yeah, we did talk about that one.
We did? Okay, and exile it instead. So, yeah.
Yep, Mana Leak.
With Dopen Speedo kind of thing. Yeah, with exiling. Which, again, we've seen there's a bunch of graveyard synergies in this set. And others as well. There's a lot of graveyard stuff. So, yep, seems good.
Yep, all right. Yeah, I think that'll do us for tonight. We have gone long. So, set looks interesting. Limited looks cool. The set seems reasonably powerful, to be honest. Like there's just a lot of stuff going on. I'm not in tune enough with any format at the moment to know really what sort of impact it's going to have. But I'll be looking forward to seeing what people do with it. This will be legal in standard for our Envy, which will be coming up in basically a month from today. So
I thought you were going to say legal in standard for the next 3 years.
Well, yes, there's also that. Yep. But yeah, we're going to have to brush up on our standard and see what our Envy players come up with for the Envy in a month. So it should be pretty cool. All right. Quick wrap up again. Go to magicbeanscast.com and that'll find you links for us everywhere. And of course, Josh and Pat's MTG Bazaar. So just go there, magicbeanscast.com and check us out. If you would like to get in touch with me and tell me what sort of list I should be building with Frantic Scapegoat, you can find me on X. I am at PSync. And you are, Cracker?
I am at Joel Hill _.
It's never going to be normal to call it X.
It's never going to. I have never called it X.
It just feels weird. But
yeah, it is
anyway. All right, that's going to do us. Thank you, as always, for listening. Stay safe out there, and we will see you all next time.